And this comes from Hakeem Jeffries. All right, so we're getting into this ratioed shit, dude. Look at this. So ratioed, that means that they got a lot more comments than they got likes. And 99.9% of the time, if you get more comments than you got likes, that means you've got a shitload of people that are really angry with what you're saying. And this applies to pretty much everything that I came across with regard to Democrats. There were very few posts that I saw today that were not just insanely ratioed. I mean, this is ratioed at like almost 2-to-1. Absolutely crazy. Democrats are fighting to protect your health care. Donald Trump and Republicans have shut down the government because they want to take your health care away. So I'll play the clip.
Donald Trump and Republicans have shut the government down because they don't want to provide health care to working class Americans. Federal law prohibits the use of Medicare, Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and the Affordable Care Act to provide health insurance in any way, shape, or form to undocumented immigrants. Period. Full stop. That's the law. And Democrats aren't trying to change that. What we are trying to do is negotiate a bipartisan agreement that actually brings the two parties together and funds the government in a way that improves the quality of life of the American people.
And look, I don't even have to say it yet again. I've already said it like, what, 5 times now, that that's absolutely incorrect, which is that they are trying to get funding for illegal immigrants. It's just all in the framing. So let's see. So I got a meme. Of course, they're all pissed off about that, but that's hilarious. And black community stands firmly against this fool. For 60 years, the Democrats have chained us to poverty, crime, broken families, and dependency while pretending it's compassion. No more. We are breaking free. Yeah, man. Black men, especially, they're leaning a lot more toward conservative to the conservatives, Republicans, and I believe that was quite apparent during the 2024 election. So yeah, dude, they're losing a lot of voters. Democrats are across the board. Across the board. Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. Not what your colleague said, and it misses an even greater point that 10 states do not even participate in Obamacare, so those states have no reason to vote for this. Wow, really? 10 states don't even subscribe to Obamacare. Anyway, who was this? Was this Maxine Waters? Oh yeah, I played this last night.
Over a government shutdown, because if the government does shut down, American
Excuse me, stop it right there. We're not prioritizing. What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open, and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement to keep this government open, and health care is at the top of our agenda.
But aren't Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
There it is.
We want to save lives.
All right, there it is. That's the gist of it. And then she starts getting all pissed off because she keeps asking her the same question. Yeah, she said it herself. She's like, I mean, she didn't verbally, word for word, say, not only for illegals, but we want it for everybody. She didn't have to say it. We knew what she was saying. We knew what she meant. It's not too hard to read between those lines. All right, so anyway. Uh-oh. I mean, that was not too heavy for YouTube, I don't think, but it's kind of walking the line there. Anyway. Cost of healthcare has more than doubled since 2020. Affordable Care Act, COVID, Biden. Stop lying. So yeah, I think you get the idea. I probably shouldn't keep scrolling too much because it might start getting a little too hot for YouTube. As Elon Musk unleashed X and made it a free speech platform. All right, House Democrats ratioed at a rate of 296 likes to 443 comments. Republicans own this government shutdown. Democrats have been and continue to be ready to work on a bipartisan spending bill that saves healthcare. All right. The fact that Democrats are getting ratioed all over the place speaks volumes about who's really at fault. Democrats organize well to employ such tactics, but Republicans don't. This is 100% organic ratioing. That was from yours truly, of course. That's not what your vote said. See, look, they're sharing it too. I shared the exact same thing. Exactly. And that's a vote to keep the government open, not a vote to close it. Some more sombrero stuff. Clown world. Schumer shutdown. Democrat continuing resolution spends nearly $200 billion on healthcare subsidies for illegal immigrants and other non-citizens. So they got the number there. And that's a cost of repeal in millions. So they essentially want to turn all this back on, really. Yep, non-citizens. See, that's the thing. They're saying, we're not giving any money to illegal immigrants. No, that's not true. We're not giving them to illegal immigrants, but we are giving it to non-citizens. It's the non-citizens issue. And that's the word games they play. They always want you to be catching up to their fucking word games. And then as soon as you say to non-citizens, then they'll have something else to say that'll convolute the whole thing all over again. All right, let's go to the next thing. I'm not going to go through the comments for all of these because I actually have quite a few of these. But Senate Democrats, Trump and Republicans shut down the government because they'd rather make healthcare more expensive than keep the government running. Democrats are fighting to roll back the Republican cuts that will take away healthcare from millions. And ratio 224 to 500, more than double, more than a 2-to-1 ratio.
Let's be clear. Republicans shut down the government because they rather make health care more expensive than keep the government running. That is literally where we are right now. Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, Republicans control the White House. They are in power. It is their job to keep the government running for the American people, and they have failed. Donald Trump and the Republicans own this shutdown. Democrats are fighting to roll back the Republican cuts that will take away health care from millions of people and raise health insurance premiums for millions more. Senate Democrats are holding the line for families. Senate Republicans decided they'd rather take orders from a wannabe king and shut down the entire government instead of helping out families who are getting squeezed on health care costs. Democrats want to keep the government open, and we want rollbacks of the Republican cuts
Bullshit.
that will cost 15 million Americans their health care coverage and drive up insurance costs for everyone else. Look, this isn't partisan. This is a righteous fight on behalf of everyone who needs health care. Everyone who might need to go to the hospital.
Such a righteous act.
Everyone who counts on a community clinic or a home.
Including illegal immigrants. Oh, I'm sorry, non-citizens. Does that include non-citizens, Elizabeth Warren? Well, that was a hilarious phrase.
Home health aid, whether they are a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, or a none of the above. We are in this fight for Americans and for American health care.
Remember, she represents Big Pharma. Big Pharma desperately wants them to pass this because they're just going to get lots and lots more money. Probably because you probably don't need quite as many different pharmaceuticals that they actually have you on. I mean, I've definitely heard it before. Someone pretty close to me in my family, they were put on a whole bunch of prescriptions. This was like 20 years ago. They believed that she had cystic fibrosis. And they did all these like allergy scratch tests and all that. Well, anyway, she was on like a dozen different types of pharmaceuticals, and she was so sick of it. She said, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to quit taking everything. And her parents were in support of it. And she actually got better. She got way better, actually. It was a complete full turnaround. Absolutely wild.
And it is only the Senate Republicans, led by Donald Trump, who stand in the way.
Yeah, she's a fucking idiot. But what's wild about this, what's wild about this is that these are primary Democrat profiles here. This is the Senate Democrats profile on X. This is it. And the X platform gets over 500 million people on here consistently. I think that's like monthly or something like that. So you got 500 million people who are on here on a regular basis. And like, this is the House Democrats profile. This is the profile for the House Democrats. Same thing for the Senate Democrats. I mean, this is it. We are the Senate Democrats, and we're working hard for the American people. 1.2 million followers. They're following 2,000 people, and that's their website, .gov, democrats.senate.gov. So this is their official, look, it's got the gray check mark. This is the official profile of the Senate Democrats. The same with the House Democrats. When you see the gray check marks, that means that is a government entity, and they're getting ratioed. So clearly, the Democrat constituency is not on their side on this. They clearly are not. Not at all. And it's not even a close ratio. It's not like that they got like 460 to 455. But even if they did, that still looks really bad. But they're getting ratioed badly. Look, Chuck Schumer, let's see what this one is. 593 to 3,100. Holy shit. That's like 6-1. Well, almost 6-1. It's absolutely crazy how badly they're getting beat up on this. They're going to get, this is like an atomic bomb against Democrats. And they did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. This is mind-blowing. Republicans shut down the government because they can't be bothered to protect healthcare for Americans across this country. Premiums are set to more than double. Americans cannot afford this. How long is this? 48 seconds? I'll play this.
What happens on Friday night when the family sits around the kitchen table and says, how are we going to pay the bills, when they see that their insurance could be $1,000 more a month? Health insurance, vital.
Frankly, dude, so many people's health insurance is over $1,000 a month as it is, to the point where they're not using it for anything. They're really not, because they can't afford to. Plus, their deductibles are God knows how much.
To the parents, the children of the family.
And remember, this was Obamacare that fucked up our insurance industry so
American
badly.
Can't afford $1,000 a month or even $400 a month.
And what's their answer? What's always their answer? Well, let's just throw more money at it. Let's just throw more taxpayer money at it. Just chalk it up to the national debt. Make our fucking great-grandkids pay for it. Because why the hell should I care? I'm pushing fucking 80 years old. I don't give a fuck.
The average American is going to say, what the heck happened here? And we Democrats are going to be there every day, every hour. Senate, House, groups that care
to royally
about
fuck
healthcare,
every American
hospital
taxpayer
groups,
up the
healthcare
ass.
groups, research groups, and letting them know this didn't have to happen. It happened because our Republican colleagues wanted to give tax breaks to billionaires and cut their health care.
Oh my God, this shit's pissed me off.
What?
I'm getting a little pissed off. Another one from Chuck. I got a bunch from Chuck Schumer, because he was really active on X today. He was just going crazy, and also getting ruthlessly ratioed time and time again. This one wasn't by as large of a margin, because, like, this was 9 hours, that was 9 hours, that was 9 hours. Like, he was just posting all day long. So I didn't want to grab every fucking one of them. But anyway, Donald Trump said the quiet part out loud. We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible. They are bad for them and irreversible, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. Donald Trump is saying that he is using the American people as pawns, threatening pain on the country as blackmail. This is a Trump shutdown. No, actually, I think most of, especially Republicans, are absolutely in favor of what Trump's saying. He's saying, you remember back when I was running in 2024, when I said that I was going to help downsize the government, that we were going to, even Elon Musk is pitching in, the richest man on the planet, personally donated like 3 months of his time to personally try to weed out the fraud, waste, abuse, the corruption of the government to try to downsize it. Yeah, you remember all that? Well, I'm doing that. I'm actually going to look into doing that. That's what he's actually saying here. That he's going to just start purging large amounts of employees that really have no business working in the federal government anyway. Just the insane amount of bloat. We have 5 million federal government employees. 5 million in total. It is absurd how bloated our government really is. Anyway, today, Americans across the country are getting notices telling them that their health insurance is going way, way up. Yeah, I'm sure it probably has a Democratic Party up on the fucking letterhead, probably. Healthcare premiums across the country are doubling. And they're probably getting all these like bullshit campaign flyers and all that shit. I mean, I can only imagine what the fuck that they're sending out. And Republicans shut down the government instead of fixing it. So that was more than 2-1, 530 to 1.3K. Trump and Vaught are threatening the vital Gateway Tunnel and 2nd Avenue subway that royally screws commuters. 698 to 594. Okay, so it surpassed it. It was ratioed at the time that I pulled it. But anyway, it's what was that? That was 9 hours ago, right? Yeah. Yeah, but still pretty close though. This one did it? No, it didn't. 900 to 2,500 comments. It's October 1st, and it's the first day of Donald Trump's government shutdown. Donald Trump and Republicans have barreled us into a shutdown because they refuse to protect Americans' health care. Man, that's a ruthless ratio. It's not as bad as that one up there. That was like 6-1. Of course, the sombreros are back. Yeah, he's wearing the MAGA hat. Trump 2024. They should have put 28 on that, actually. That would have been hilarious. Chuck and all his Democrat friends voted no one keeping the government open. I mean, can we find one that's in support of them? Like, can we find one comment that's actually like pro-Democrat or pro-Chuck Schumer here? I somehow doubt it. And look, like I said, I don't want to scroll too much throughout these comments because, every once in a while somebody's going to fire off something that's like, way too spicy for YouTube. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Not so sure about that, but this is enough, Chucky. What's this, Chuck? Yep, the undocumented immigrants over 65. I already went over that one. How do you say nope? This is what you're fighting for, emergency Medicaid. If you cannot get full health insurance coverage through North Carolina Medicaid and are not a U.S. citizen, you may be able to get emergency Medicaid. Oh, emergency Medicaid. Anyone can apply for emergency Medicaid, no matter what their immigration status is. They only need to meet the regular Medicaid rules, like age and income requirements. Holy shit. You and your cronies shut down the government. Sorry, Bubba. Everyone's calling it the Schumer shutdown. Because it is. It's another one against them. Another one against them. Go fuck yourself. This is going to go down as the biggest mistake you ever made. Oh, it is. Oh, it is. And like I said, I cannot stress that enough. The absolute ruthlessness of these ratios. And it's one after the next after the next. And it's not just Chuck Schumer, man. It's Democrats across the board. They're getting ratioed everywhere today. Because people don't want this. They don't want this to happen. I mean, talk about the worst fucking time they could have done this. Especially just after what happened to Charlie Kirk and that ICE shooter, the guy that was trying to assassinate ICE in Dallas, and of course the ongoing riots that are going on. The Antifa has been designated as a terrorist organization. I mean, it's just time and time again, man. I mean, they're funding. Liar. All right. I'm just trying to find one. I just want to find one where somebody's agreeing with them. Schumer shutdown. Thank you for shrinking the size of the government. Yeah. It's actually your shutdown, asshole. The great Schumer shutdown. Illegals, we the people blame it on you. You fool. Schumer shutdown, illegals. Not fucking one, dude. Not one. You own this. You own this. Just keep voting no. Trust me, it will be okay. I mean, all right. Can we give that one to him? Can we safely give that one to him? Maybe we can give that one to him. I somehow doubt that we can, really. No, because he's a fucking conservative. Trump 2016, 2020, 2024. I guess we can't give that one to him. No, Chuck, this is all on you. Chuckles. All right, that one's obviously a no. Americans First, Chucky. Here are the actual votes. You had a clean CR you previously voted on. Barack Obama shut down the government. We've seen this song and dance before. Doge AI is even chiming in. Shutdown is on you, Democrats. Yeah, I don't think we're going to find one. I don't think we're going to find a single comment that is in support of this shutdown. Not one. Fuck off, Chuckles. You own this one. False. Good grief, man. Like going way down. Blood's on his hands. Schumer shut down. Him frying up his fake fucking cheeseburgers. All right. But I mean, look at all this. Like, I went through all this, and not a single one is in favor of this shutdown. Not a single one. Good grief. And this is from Senator Jeff Merkley. What was this ratio at? 411 to 666. It's an ominous number, but appropriate for Democrats. Republicans forced through a budget that will make your health care more expensive if you can keep it at all. Now they'd rather shut down the government than fix the healthcare crisis they've created.
What's about to happen is a very significant increase.
You know what? Talk about giving them an inch and them taking a fucking mile. Because in 2020, when they were trying to alleviate healthcare costs during COVID, Republicans, back when Trump was still in his first administration, now this is the thanks that we get. Like, we're allowing those tax credits to expire, and now they're like screaming that Republicans are so fucking evil because they're taking away healthcare for so many millions of people.
Healthcare for people buying insurance on the exchange. A projected 65% increase, $1,300 average per person, more than.
Yeah, you notice how he's just using words, but he's got plenty of screen real estate to project these numbers onto, but they're not doing that. Instead, you just got to trust what he has to say. You got to trust the gaslighting.
$5,000 for a family of four, and that will probably not just be increases.
$5,000 for a family of four, that is not going to happen unless it's government funded. If it increases, see, that's another thing that they don't quite mention that I haven't heard the Republicans say either. Dude, if the healthcare costs are going to double, if they're going to triple, if they're on Medicaid, isn't the government just, isn't the taxpayer at the end of the day just paying for that anyway? It's not the individual that's going to have to pay that. There is no family in the middle class who's going to pay $5,000 for their healthcare. They're not going to. They're not going to. They're going to have to bite the bullet and just drop it all together. There is no way that it's going to cost that much. And I'm guessing that probably 95% of that, if not all of it, is just going to be subsidized by the taxpayers at the end of the day. And this should force everybody to take a hard look at our healthcare insurance industry and say, look, American taxpayers, whether if it doubles or not, even where it stands right now, is absolutely absurd, and we have got to get this shit under
On the
control.
exchange, it'll probably roll out in an impact to folks who get health insurance in other markets. And a lot of those people will simply not then get health coverage, and that means there'll be less revenues for our hospitals and our clinics. And this is just the first stage of a multi-stage attack.
Yeah, but
on our
Democrats
healthcare
voted
system.
to
The next
withhold
stage in
$50
January
billion in
2027
funding for rural
is
hospitals.
when a horrific assault on Medicaid begins. So we're saying no, health care is important. You proceeded to cut it savagely.
Oh, those savages.
In order to do tax breaks for
Oh my God,
billionaires.
can't forget the
This
tax
is a
breaks for billionaires.
families lose, billionaires win strategy, and instead we need a families win and billionaires pay their fair share.
Yeah, all right, whatever. What percentage of people who are able-bodied enough to not need to be put on Medicare or Medicaid? It's probably like 80%, probably something like that. If you're a senior citizen and you're on a fixed income, then I think you should be allowed to be on assistance with healthcare. I'm not going to push back against that. People who are physically disabled to the point where your voice doesn't work, your fingers can't type, something like that. Because there's a lot of people out there who are wheelchair bound and they still work. They work because they want to, because they can. There's a lot of people who are getting benefits, especially welfare benefits, who have no business being on welfare because they can go out and work, but they outright fucking refuse to. And this one from Senator Alex Padilla. Trump can keep the government open by working with Democrats to make healthcare more affordable. It's on him, and Donald Trump agrees. So we already saw that clip from Shifty Schiff. So this one got ratioed 611 to 960. Senator Patty Murray. Trump wants to force a painful Republican shutdown rather than work with Democrats to save your healthcare. Premiums are set to double thanks to Trump's inaction. Why do Republicans want Americans to go bankrupt over basic healthcare? 401 to 716, ratioed. Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester. What's unreasonable about giving millions of Americans back the health care coverage Republicans took away? If the White House wants to be reasonable, they should come to the negotiating table. Again, 89 to 253. Oh, man, that's basically 3-1. Again, man, people are not happy about this shit. Elizabeth Warren, we're in a healthcare emergency. 15 million people, probably a number she yanked out of her ass, are going to lose their health care. Millions are about to see their premiums skyrocket. Republicans are in power. They need to roll back their massive health care cuts and fund the government. That is so funny, dude, because so many Democrats, like when I was growing up, I grew up in the 90s. You know, I was in my early 20s by like the early mid-2000s. I graduated high school in 03. Back then, your average card-carrying Democrat they were okay with the government not being as bloated and enormous as it is now. A lot of them were talking to defund government and get a hold of the national deficit, which wasn't anywhere near what it is now. Plus, you got like the Occupy Wall Street movement that happened in 2011. They were really pissed off that the banks got bailed out and Wall Street got bailed out. So they were out there occupying Wall Street. Most of them were fucking Democrat voters that were out there pushing back against that. And for her to say that, like, we need to fund more of the government. We need to make the government as big as humanly possible. It's just wild how shit changes in such a small amount of time. Senator Mazie, oh yeah, that, by the way, 2.5 to 3.3 thousand. Senator Mazie Hirano, Democrats simply want to ensure Americans can afford health care next year, and Republicans are calling us the bad guys in this scenario. 1.5K to 1.9K, ratioed. Elizabeth Warren, once again, our healthcare system was already in crisis before Republicans came in and slashed $1 trillion. Here's the truth. Our system can't absorb these cuts and keep providing healthcare to everyone who needs it. Any budget we pass must restore healthcare. 1.3 to 1.4, ratioed. And you see how disingenuous they are, because at the end of the day, at some point in all of our lifetimes, we're all going to need healthcare. That's why it's impossible to boycott the health industry. We can't boycott it because we all need healthcare. Because eventually we're going to get sick. We all got to die someday. And it's usually some sort of an illness or a disease or an ailment that ends up kicking us out or, putting us 6 feet under eventually. So, we're all going to need healthcare at some point or another. And that's what they try to, gaslight us with and try to, capitalize on top of, to try to infuse as many trillions of dollars into the government as they possibly can. But anyway, this is the last one I got from Mark Warner. Republicans' quest to shut down the government is simple. They would rather unleash this havoc than simply keep healthcare costs stable for millions. And that one, once again, 253 to 388, ratioed. They're getting ratioed left and right, all over the place, all up and down throughout the day today. Getting ratioed. All these Democrat posts.